Good afternoon. Before we start our webinar, I would like to go over some technical information while you're doing the presentation. If you have questions and you are familiar with the GoToWebinar platform, feel free to use the question panel. You can also raise your hand or simply type your question in the chat window. I'll be monitoring these all three during the presentation. Also, if you're having any technical issues, you can send me a private chat, or you can send me an email to showard71@hotmail.com. I'll also put this email in the chat window for you. Janice?
Okay, thanks, Sharita. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining. I am excited. Today we have with us Vince Hahn, and I know we've all heard about chatbots. Chatbots are revolutionizing the way businesses interact with their clients and the way we interact with each other. And today Vince is going to take us through some information about chatbots. He's the founder and the CEO of Mobile Coach, and he's a frequent speaker at a lot of our training conferences at DevLearn, at FocusOn, online learning. Also just recently came back from ICE. He holds an MBA from the MIT Sloan School of Management, and he's an industry thought leader for learning and learning technology, has an emphasis on artificial intelligence and chatbot technology. Vince has founded several technology companies that have been successful, and he resides in Utah. So we are excited to hear what he's going to share with us from his wealth of knowledge today. Thanks, Vince. It's over to you.
Thanks, Janeth. Appreciate that. I'm really excited to spend time with you this afternoon and talk about chatbots, my favorite topic. I want to start by just introducing myself and how I got interested in chatbots to start with, which is sort of outside the corporate learning use case. It was about 5 years ago when I was doing some research around technologies to help people be healthy for all things. You know, there's a lot of different options out there. There's a lot of apps for like people that run. There's apps to help people keep track of their weight and their diet and exercise and things like that. Wonderful technologies. But what I noticed about all those apps and things like that is that even though they had lots and lots of people, in some cases millions of people download them, not everybody, in fact, only a small percentage of people who downloaded those apps actually regularly use them. Something like, I think I saw a statistic with one of the more popular exercise apps where, you know, let's say that they had 20 million people download the app, only 5% or less actually use them. And myself being sort of, you know, I was on my own health journey, losing weight, trying to, you know, turn my life to be a lot more healthier. I was really interested in why is it that people will start on sort of a healthy track or make a goal, sort of like a New Year's resolution to say, okay, this is the year I'm going to get my weight down, or I'm going to get more fit, I'm going to walk more, or whatever the health-related or wellness-related goal might be. And so many people give up on those goals. The New Year's resolution joke to say, after, you know, a couple weeks, your New Year's resolution is but a distant memory. And how that these really cool and awesome looking apps were actually not helping a lot of people. That was the start of my journey towards chatbots. And the reason is because I thought, well, you know, once we give up on a goal, or if we're struggling with a goal, we tend to block things out. Like we won't use that app again, we'll turn off push notifications. So I asked myself, what can we consistently rely on in terms of something to get my attention? And I think it's true for most of us that if we get a text message or a mobile message from one of our friends or family members, we will always pay attention to those messages. And so then I thought, well, could we design a chatbot to become a friend? Like if a chatbot was texting me or messaging me, would I answer? And So I did a lot of experimentation with that and just found that it is such a wonderful way to keep a conversation going, to keep people engaged. And so that's just a little bit of background how I became introduced to chatbots. So what is a chatbot? We're going to talk a little bit today about just very briefly, what is a chatbot? It's not hard to understand, so we'll go through a couple of slides, and then I really want to dig into some real life examples. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about how all of this can apply with the different projects we've got going on around corporate learning. So what is a chatbot? It's simply a computer that's designed to converse with a human. There's lots of different ways you can talk with a chatbot. We'll get into a little bit of that, but that's simply what it is. It's just a computer that is programmed to be able to hold a conversation. Interestingly, the very first chatbot that was documented is a program that came out of my alma mater, MIT, back in 1965 from a Dr. Rosenblum, Joseph Rosenblum, and he named his chatbot Eliza. You can tell by the screenshot here, this was 1965, no fancy computers. And essentially what he did is he designed a script that someone could interact with this chatbot on a computer terminal, a 1965 terminal, that is. And you can kind of look at this. It's interesting to just look at what the script was like. Here's Eliza. I'm the psychotherapist. So this is the computer speaking. Please describe your problems. Each time you are finished talking, type RET twice, which I think means the return key on those old DOS prompt computers. And so then the user types in, I have a terrible headache. So then the automation here is that then Eliza comes back with, maybe you should consult a doctor of medicine. I'm a psychiatrist. So if you think about how this worked, this wasn't some elaborate artificial intelligence back in 1965. He built a library of keywords, and so once the user said headache, that triggered this response. Maybe you should consult a doctor of medicine. And then this is where it kind of falls apart. So then the user says, okay, I'll do that then. This was not something that Eliza could understand. So Eliza said, can you elaborate on that? And then the user gets a little snarky. What are you talking about? No, I can't elaborate. See you later. And so you can I'll let you read the rest of the dialogue there. But you can see that it was automated, but not very smart. And in fact, in many respects, chatbots haven't got a ton more smarter. If you have a smartphone like an iPhone, or if you've got an Alexa, or if you've got a Google Home, you'll know that when you try to speak to it, it can be limited in terms of how well it can understand us. And that problem started in 1965. In about 2015, I don't know if any of you use Slack. Slack is an online collaboration tool for teams. But Slack became very, very popular, especially among sort of Silicon Valley companies and tech companies with a lot of millennials joining. And so Slack introduced a lot of Slack chatbots. Here's an example of one, Celeste, where in the Slack interface, you could just find Celeste, who is not a person, it's a chatbot, and you could say, I'm sorry, Celeste is a real person, it's the office bot, that's the bot. And you could say, hey, office bot, please add espresso beans to the grocery list. Done, there are 4 items on the grocery list. And so a pretty simple use case where the office bot in Slack is just keeping track of a shopping list for office supplies. And there's some convenience to that. I don't have to go bother someone. I know that the office bot will do a good job of adding things to the list. So Slack started increasing the awareness of chatbots, especially among high-tech companies. And in fact, in subsequent years, there was a lot written about chatbots in a lot of technology industry journals. Here's another Slackbot example where I could tell Slackbot, hey, please remind me to go to bed at a certain time and give me a reminder. And then the Slackbot says, yes, give me a reminder. And then here's the reminder that came through email. So the Slack chatbot can be configured to do some automation. You can see here's the reminder that came in. You asked me to remind you to go to bed. That's just a silly little example, but you can see the point there. Just to move on, Facebook, I think most of us have Facebook accounts, whether we, I don't know about you, but I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, and with every subsequent year just seems to be a little bit more of hate than love. But anyway, Facebook has a lot of messenger bots. They actually have a chatbot platform that you could go and design your own chatbot. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. So you can actually, most of your favorite brands might have developed chatbots on Facebook Messenger. So when I go into Facebook, I'm an American Express card holder, and they've got a chatbot here. So I can go into Messenger and type hi, and then it gives me these menus that I can navigate around. So I can view my account balance using the chatbot. I could see what offers American Express might have for me. Every time I use my credit card, the messenger chatbot, the American Express messenger chatbot, actually messages me and gives me a list or a ping. So here I could see 7:33. I use my card on Amazon.com. So, and if I tap on details, then I can see the details of this transaction. Now, why is this valuable? It's valuable because I'm already on Messenger. I'm already, it's not a separate app that I have to learn and download. It's just messaging. And that's the key value behind the chatbot is ease of use, the ease of what we call this conversational user experience. Now, I live in Utah, and so I was contemplating changing this slide just because you folks in Houston just pounded us in the playoffs. But I am a Utah Jazz fan, and the NBA has a messenger bot, so I could go onto Messenger, find the NBA bot, tell it my favorite team, and then I can tell the bot what I want to do. So I can say, show me the top plays, show me alerts from the last game. And then it gives me some options. Do you want to receive reminders when Utah is playing and highlights of each game? So if I say enable alerts, then it's going to message me, just like a friend would message me to say, hey, the game was last night, tap here to see the highlights. So it's all done through a conversational user interface like this. SMS, text messaging, is also another way to use chatbots. That's actually where most of my experience lies, as building SMS chatbots. And here's an example of an SMS chatbot based on a learning, sort of supporting a learning initiative. So some of the best practices that we have found in designing a chatbot is to give it a name and a personality. So this one we've named Coach S. You can see this is my screenshot of my iPhone, and it's just coming through text messaging. So this chatbot saying, hi, I'm Coach S. I'm going to help you have great one-on-ones with your team. How often would you like to receive messages? So it gives me some options that I can personalize my chatbot experience. So I say once a week would be good. I've got it. I'll check in next week, and then weekly from there on. And so I can see here then what would happen when I receive a message from Coach S. Here's this next message. Want to see some sample agendas for holding a one-on-one with a direct report? Sure, that'd be great. Okay, here they are in a PDF. So the chatbot can be sort of an accountability buddy, a reminder system. It could be performance support help with like job aids, like this PDF. A lot of different ideas on how to interact with a learner, a manager, an employee through a chatbot in this way. Here's an example of collecting some data in a survey. Let me ask, as you reflect on the last month, how would you rate the quality of your one-on-ones? 1 being I haven't had any yet, and 5 very good. So I can indicate, again, very conversationally, probably a 3, and then the chatbot can be configured to understand that response. Okay, thanks for saying so. Can you give me some feedback on how I or our L&D team can help? And I can say, these reminders help. You can read the slide here, but all of this can be configurable and designed so that you can design a user experience that is contextual to your learner depending on the program or the initiative that you're trying to support. So I'm going to pause there. And there's a question in the chat that asked Alexa is that artificial intelligence. Yeah, so the artificial intelligence umbrella is quite wide. Artificial intelligence is defined as any computer system that's automated to do a task that for a human. Alexa would definitely be considered artificial intelligence, as would most chatbots. But artificial intelligence also includes machine learning, where in the background computers are crunching data and making assumptions and sort of dissecting a bunch of data to come up with key points for analytics. And so the artificial intelligence umbrella is actually quite large. So yes, and just looking at the chat again, Siri is also very similar to Alexa. Siri is the sort of the voice chat for for Apple in terms of their artificial intelligence brand. So what I thought would be kind of fun for those of you on here is for you to try a little chatbot on your own. So I'm just going to take a minute and invite you to do this. You don't have to do this, but it's kind of fun if you want to try. And then, of course, this is only for demo purposes, so there's no marketing behind this at all. You won't receive any ongoing text messages beyond this little demo. So if you have concerns about that, don't need to worry. But I'd invite you to give this a try. Just take out your phones if they're available, and what you would do is you'd open up a new text message to that 801 number, and then you would text that phone number the keyword MC demo. And then once you do that, you'll get, fire that off. And so once you hit send, maybe you have to wait up to 30 seconds or so to get a response, but you'll hear back from a coach, Sally. So give that a try. And I will, if anyone has any questions while people are trying that, please ask or type it in the chat, but I'll give people just a minute to try that out and then we'll move on. But I'd love to give you an opportunity to give this a try. So 801-590-7825. And for those of you watching the recording of this webinar, you can try this as well. This is a demo that's just always on. And I'll just again give people a second. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just type in the chat too. Just in case I move on and you still wanted to look at the number. 590-7825. There it is. Oops, I should have sent that to everybody. Oh, I don't know if I've got the ability to do that, so maybe Janeth or Sharif, if one of the two of you want to just put in the chat for everybody. Okay, see that one of you received a message back from Coach Sally. That's great. I'll just give this another 10 seconds and then I'll move on. So what this is an SMS-based chatbot. And you can ask it questions, or you can answer its questions and you can have a little conversation with it. And the advantage, again, for this type of chatbot is you didn't have to download anything. You don't have to create a username and password. You can answer whenever you want to answer. You actually don't have to answer. And so that sort of ease of usability is where the real power of a chatbot lies. And you can really get very creative about then how, what you want your chatbot to say and, the types of things you want your chatbot to do. So let's move to this part of the discussion. Why use a chatbot for training? What's the advantage of it? And I've been alluding to this in the last few minutes, but what we call a conversational user interface, this gives you the best opportunity to overcome what we call the choose to engage barrier. And I want to talk a little bit about that. So I would guess that all of you have been part of some technology rollout, whether it's a new LMS or a new sort of website or a new app that was launched, either to support training or some other initiative in your respective companies. So whenever there's a website or an app that's been promoted to a group of users to accomplish some sort of productivity purpose, so whether that's, again, training or some other initiative, you will always face what we call the choose to engage barrier. And it looks something like this, where on day one, there's a lot of excitement. There's the rollout, there's a lot of communication about it. So you will have some success in getting people there. And they'll try it out, and they'll create a username and password, and they'll create their accounts, and they'll be gung-ho about it. But then a week goes by, and the number of users dwindles, and then a month goes by, and the number of users dwindles even more. And we call this the choose to engage barrier. And what we mean by that is that there's a psychological barrier to doing stuff. So if I know that, and those decision-making moments for users is very fleeting and fragile. So what I mean by that, if I'm sitting at my computer and I know that, oh yes, my boss wants me to log into that site that's new, or that new program, yeah, I'll do that later. Or maybe they will go to it and they'll say, I can't remember my username and password. Oh, I'll go look it up later. So each of those decision points end up being a barrier to a certain percentage of people, and that's what whittles down the actual number of engaged users quite drastically. And so we sum that up by saying each required click is a decision that is easily curtailed by other things. And I think all of us can relate to that. And so the chatbot is an opportunity to remove most of those barriers, because the chatbot can actually initiate a conversation just like a friend is going to initiate a conversation. So when my friends or family members text me, they do so because they know that's the best way to get my attention. So at this point, those of you that tried the Coach Sally demo should have received a couple back and forth interactions with the chatbot, and so hopefully that gives you an idea of how easy it is to interact with. If you were to ask Coach Sally some off-the-wall question, she's not going to be that smart to answer off-the-wall questions, but if you do a good job of leading the conversation and having the chatbot have a very specific purpose, we found great success in having people be delighted to respond and interact with the chatbot. So why use a chatbot for training? Again, you might be tempted when you're looking at technology solutions to deploy very fancy looking apps or fancy looking websites. But really, at the end of the day, you want to meet people where they already are. And so you might say, well, we have to go mobile then, because that's where they are. Everybody's on mobile. That is true. Everybody is on mobile. But on my smartphone, for example, I've got lots of apps on my phone that I never use. And so you don't want to be one of those. Just because you're on their phone as an app, you don't want to be on their phone as an app that nobody uses. But everybody is on messaging. And that is why I think a chatbot is a great form and a great channel for training support. And that is illustrated by this image here. So if in the middle here, this is your target learner. They're surrounded by a circle of friends and family and colleagues. And so if you design your chatbot well, this learner will welcome your chatbot into their circle of friends and family, so you can have that platform of conversation, of reinforcement, of reminding, of teaching. Now, it's been my experience that a chatbot actually won't be a real friend. Artificial intelligence isn't quite ready to be that smart. But as long as the messages feel valuable to the learner, they're going to be happy to interact with a chatbot. And that's going to drive a new level of attention that you can get from the learner over enough of a period of time where you can really reinforce the learning. You can really make a much more effective program. So late last year, I did a little experiment with my team here, and we built a project that I want to tell you about. So this is sort of like a real life use case that I want to walk you through. So we did this on Facebook Messenger. Now my company is filled with millennials, and what we've noticed is that a lot of, especially younger millennials, aren't on Facebook. They have Facebook accounts, but they don't rely on them so much as a social media outlet. But they all use it. They've all been accustomed to using it through Messenger. So many of you might know that Facebook has two apps on your phone. You've got the regular social media app, Facebook, and then you've got Messenger, which is like a texting app, and they're separate. So we use this on Facebook Messenger. And what we did is, the goal for this project was, I wanted to see if I could design a chatbot to have all of my staff learn to use our internal product more. And so, we've got a technology product. That's what Mobile Coach does. We've got an authoring platform for chatbots. But much of my staff they don't really have a need to use it because they're in marketing, or they're in their support staff, or they're in sales. And so really just sort of the product managers and the product gurus are using the product. But I wanted everybody to be familiar with the features and functionality of our product. And so I thought, what a good project for a chatbot. Could I design a chatbot to get people from marketing, to get people from user support, customer service, to learn to use our product more effectively? So that's what this project was. We have a fun little story in our office where everyone believes here that we have an office ghost. If you're in the office after hours, there'll be strange noises and things like that. And we've even had an employee claim that they've seen this ghost. Not to freak anybody out, but it's sort of both office lore and an office joke. And so we actually decided to name our chatbot Coach Shirley, because that's the name of the ghost. And you can see that her Facebook name is actually @GhostShirley. And so this is sort of the first thing that we did in designing our chatbot, is to make it fun, to give it a little bit of personality, not have it just be an anonymous phone number. So we gave her a Facebook page, and then you could start messaging with Coach Shirley by tapping on Send Message. So there's Coach Shirley. The project goals were, I wanted to increase competence in using our software among all our employees. I wanted to quiz them on knowledge as a strategy to teach and remind them. I wanted to gamify it a little bit to motivate participation, because not everybody's technical, not everybody was excited about getting into the technology. And I wanted the Coach Shirley to provide some accountability for personal goals. So these were the four things that, four goals I had in designing this user experience. The project was 4 weeks long, so pretty short, 1 month. We have a small team, so we had 12 participants, and it wasn't like 5 times a day. It was just 2 to 3 interactions a week. And the way we designed it was, for the first 2 weeks, we'd do some quizzing and some gamification. Week 3, we would do some push reminders. And on the 4th week, we would challenge users to set a personal goal. So I'll show you a little bit of what this looked like. So this is some of the week 1 user experience. This is where Coach Shirley was gaming or sending quizzes and doing a little gamification. I'm not going to read all this for you, but because I know all of you can read. But you can see some of the user experience here. Some of the content here is very specific to our platform, so you might not understand all of these things, but you could get the idea. And you can see that if you answered correctly, the Coach Shirley awarded points, so I got a point. And then I also got a fun little animated GIF as a reward to make me laugh. So that's an example of a Coach Shirley interaction. Here's another one, another quiz. What's the hour difference between UTC time and Mountain Time? We do a lot of time zone work here, so we have to be really good at time zone conversion. So again, I answer it correctly. I get a thumbs up. We experimented with time-sensitive interactions. So in this one, look at this one, text back quiz for a rapid fire test for bonus points. You'll have 20 seconds to answer. So I texted back quiz, then I got some rapid fire questions. You can see here. Here's another time-sensitive question. Ready for your last question before we announce this week's winner? You've got 4 hours to answer. Now, we got some good feedback on this particular chatbot interaction, where a lot of the participants didn't like it because they might have been busy for those 4 hours, and they felt that this was a little unfair. So one lesson learned for us was if you do gamify things, you have to be really careful about the rules of the game just to make sure people feel like it's completely fair. You can see some of the interaction. So it was really easy. I didn't have to go download any app or go to a website. I could just get these messages and start interacting with it. So we saw some really great engagement, and I'll show you some of the numbers in a moment. But here's another screenshot of the interaction of the gamification. I'll park on here just for a minute, just so you have enough time to read it. And if anyone has any questions about this project or some of the things you're seeing here, please raise your hand or type a question in the chat. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the project. So we did some polling. A question like this was really interesting for me because I could see, you can almost think of it as a super survey. So a question like this, MCP stands for our platform. So which MCP feature would you like to learn about? It was interesting for me to see what people said, and it helped me get a better sense of what was going on in the minds of my people. And then here's the example of the personal accountability. So let's focus on making you the best configurer ever. I challenge you to spend 5 to 10 minutes a day. What will you work on? And so I asked the chatbots asking the participants to set a goal, to tell them what's your goal that you're going to work on this week. And then after you set your goal, Coach Shirley said, okay, I'll check back in a few days to see how you're doing. Now, this is really powerful. You can have a chatbot do the accountability and the follow-up for you, especially if you are going to be supporting lots and lots of users. You can automate all of that. And there was a question that came in on the chat. So we can use Messenger to create your own chatbot. And the answer is absolutely. Yeah, Facebook Messenger has a whole SDK, a chatbot messenger platform for people to create their own bots. So, and so here are some of the results. The results of this 4-week project, we had 92% of participants as what we call high responders. And what that means is that they were responding to the bot more than 50% of the time when the bot asked them a question, which we thought was really, really good. So 8% low responded. We didn't have anyone not respond at all. And we didn't have anyone opt out, even though we let people opt out if they wanted to. And the overall response rate was a 72%. And so if we step back and look at these results and sort of compare them to what if we were to do this, what if we had done this through email? What kind of response rates would we have had through email? All of you have had experience doing email campaigns and know that it can be a struggle getting even an email to be opened, let alone responded to if it's a mass email. So this just underscores some of the advantages of a chatbot in terms of ease of use and just driving that higher user engagement. So a question came in: how chatbots have added advantages over creating WhatsApp group or GroupMe for group communication? Well, group chats can be very, very engaging. So that should be said. And you can do that in WhatsApp. You could do that for GroupMe, but those are manually done, and you have to have some human do those. And the reason you would want to consider a chatbot is when automation has some big value for you. Also, we have found that with chatbots, that one-on-one chat experience is very different from a group chat. I mean, how many of you have been part of a group chat where you have maybe a bunch of you in the group, but then there's 2 actors in that group chat that start having a conversation among themselves back and forth with the whole group watching, and that can be really annoying. And also can be prohibitive in terms of getting people to respond or answer in a way that is truthful. So a one-on-one chatbot can be a nice solution for keeping a conversation going. Just another statistic from our little project here. I wanted to find out. So I had the chatbot ask a question: have you been finding time to work on your goal? And we had a majority of the people say yes. And so we said, got it. This week, how much did you work on improving your configuration skills on a scale of 1 to 5? So I had people respond. And based on our number crunching, we found that the chatbot was able to get users to increase their time spent on learning the platform by 25%. So part of our test here was to have some quantifiable data that we could track to see, is the chatbot really moving the needle with some of the goals that we wanted it to? And so in this case, we did definitely find that because of the chatbot, people did spend more time working on their own knowledge about our platform. And we found this to be true with other use cases, like you want the chatbot to encourage people to be better about holding their one-on-ones with their direct reports, or having chatbots helping new hires for new hire onboarding get acclimated faster. All those types of use cases, we found some great quantifiable data that when a chatbot's designed well, you can certainly support the behaviors you want to support and target, as well as tackle any knowledge gaps that you want to tackle. So my key lessons learned from this fun little Facebook message that we did, first, make it fun. Put some personality behind it. Gamification can be very effective. Not in not all cases is gamification appropriate, but for a lot of user populations, to make it fun, award points, do badges, do leaderboards, things like that can be a motivating factor to get people to do things that they otherwise wouldn't have. We've also found that engagement goes beyond just measuring whether people respond to the chatbot. In general, getting people to read and to see messages, even if they don't respond, we found to be a really good thing. It just increases mindfulness, it increases awareness, and people appreciate that. And we have learned that to focus on iterations. Take what you've learned from your chatbot experience and take those best practices and learnings into your next project. And so we actually have done subsequent 4-week challenges based on the things that we've learned from each one to make the chatbot even smarter and better to fit the demographic and culture of our team here. So those are the main lessons learned from that little Facebook experiment that we did. Well, this was alluded to a little bit earlier when a question came through the chat. How do can we do this on Facebook? Well, how do you do this yourself? First of all, there's several different authoring platforms you can use. Facebook has an authoring platform. Now, that means that your chatbot would only be on Facebook if you use their authoring SDK. Slack has an authoring platform. There's web-based tools like Chatfuel. My company, Mobile Coach, has a robust authoring platform. You can also decide to custom build a chatbot. You could do that. You would need an engineer to do that, but plenty of companies decide to create chatbots on their own by custom building one. So that's the first step. The second step is to design your script. What's the chatbot going to say? How is it going to act? What's the personality of it? And the third is to implement it and then iterate it based on what you learn. And I thought this could be helpful for the group if you're interested in how chatbots work. This is our methodology on how to design a chatbot. So if we look at the top here, the first is coming up with a concept, and this is not shouldn't be a surprise. You really want to define the scope of your chatbot. That's really important to have a successful chatbot project. So what's the strategy? What's the goal setting? Is there gamification? What is the chatbot concept? You have to decide that, and then based on that answer, ask yourself, what's the personality and tone of this chatbot? If I'm going to be targeting new employees, maybe millennials, first job out of college, then the tone could feel very different from a chatbot that's targeting more senior managers. And then what's the frequency and duration of my chatbot? Do I want to push out messages once a day, once a week, once a month? You could have all these different options based on what you want your chatbot to try to achieve. And then I'm always a fan of drafting what I call the onboarding experience. This is onboarding onto the chatbot. I know onboarding can have different definitions, but this is like the registration messages. When the first message that someone will get from the chatbot, it's really helpful to help in your design to figure out how you're going to set expectations to the user about what the chatbot's doing. So you can see here the first message. Hello, I'm Coach Maury. Oops, my mouse got away from me there. Okay, hello, I'm Coach Maury. I'm stoked that you and I get to work on X together. So X represents whatever goal that you have for the chatbot. I'm sure we'll become experts at this if we put our heads together. And then the setting expectations message. I'm sticking around for X weeks, and I'll send you X messages each week to help you stay on track. Text stop at any time to stop. Let's begin on Monday. We have found that following something like this, where you're setting really clear expectations with the user, you're letting them know how they can opt out if they get annoyed by it. This combination of setting best practices, you'll really find to be effective. So you can go ahead and steal this from us or borrow this from us as you design your own chatbot project. Roughly speaking, just to set some expectations, when we set expectations well with users, in a corporate training setting, we usually see a 3 to 5% opt-out rate. So the vast majority of people will not opt out and will participate in your chatbot conversation. And then I think it's always important to have a measurement plan with any project, let alone a chatbot project. The success of any programmatic chatbot is judged on metrics. And so there are three main categories you can measure how well your chatbot's doing. What are users doing? You can measure that by, are they answering your chatbot? Are they opting out? What are some other sort of actions you can measure through the chatbot? Secondly, what are users saying? You can send them surveys and ask them what they think about the chatbot. Do they like it? What suggestions do they have? And lastly, are there business results that you can measure? And much like the business result that I measured with my own chatbot project, seeing could I drive my people to spend more time learning our platform than they otherwise would have, and that was a business result that we measured with our project. So this is sort of the template to design your chatbot, to think about, to use when you're designing a chatbot user experience. So that's sort of the ABCs of chatbot and chatbot designs for for corporate training use cases. I'd love to take questions. Any other questions? You can feel free to put a question in the chat, or you can email me a question that you might have, vince@mobilecoach.com. But I know I was kind of racing through this content, but any other questions from anyone on the call? Well, if not, I will turn the time back to Janeth.
Okay, great. So I saw there was a question. Did we answer everybody's question? How chatbots have added advantages over creating WhatsApp groups or GroupMe?
Yeah, I did talk a little bit about that, about the the advantage, the core advantage over a WhatsApp group would be the automation that a chatbot could provide. So this is a way to, and the other advantage is some people are hesitant to fully participate in a group chat. So group and social-based learning has a definite place in a learning ecosystem, but a lot of people do prefer one-on-one, personalized interactions, and so that's what a chatbot's going to be able to provide.
Okay, great. Thank you, Vince. Well, I hope everybody got great content today, got some of your questions answered. We do have Vince's contact information, so feel free to email him if you have additional questions. Hope you took a lot of notes, as I did, and I hope you have a great rest of the day and an exciting weekend. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. You're now free to go.
Vince.
Yes, ma'am.
So we do have two more questions if they want to hold on and just listen to your answer.
Of course.
So, and I'll just read them instead of putting them in the chat. Deepak asked, well, he's just saying thank you for the answer about the chat boxes. Lisa's question is, what sort of analytics do you use behind this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So whatever authoring platform you use should have some analytics embedded in it. The analytics we rely on are the things that you might imagine. So what how many users are there, and when do they sign up, and what types of questions do they answer the most, and what are their questions. And so our system, for example, will capture all the data about any conversation. So, how many messages are sent, how many people answer the messages, and so that's the most important data. And then there's a bunch of qualitative analysis that you can do. So things like, are people more prone to answer quiz questions that are multiple choice versus open-ended questions? So that gives you a sampling of the types of analytics that we look at. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. And if they need more information about it, or they want more clarification, they can email you at this email address, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. About any question about chatbots or artificial intelligence, I'd be happy to answer.
All right. I think that's it. There's no more questions.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Have a great day, everybody.